Brexit is the process by which the United Kingdom withdraws from the European Union, also known as the EU. The British government led by David Cameron held a referendum on the issue on the 23rd of June 2016 where 51.89% of the people voted to leave the EU. EU is a political and economic union between European countries which makes its own policies concerning the members' economies, societies, laws and to some extent security. While many believed that the EU is the best way to meet challenges that smaller nations might struggle with, such as economic growth or negotiations with larger nations, some others believed that the EU is an overblown bureaucracy which drains money and compromises the power of sovereign states. This led to a major debate between the political parties and continued for decades. When the Conservative Party unexpectedly won the 2015 general election, the European Union Referendum Act 2015 was introduced in the Parliament to enable the referendum. A referendum is a direct vote in which an entire electorate is asked to vote on a particular proposal. This may result in the adoption of a new law. After the date for the referendum was announced, the United Kingdom split into two groups, the Leavers and the Remainers. Leavers were those who supported the withdrawal from the EU, while Remainers were those who wanted the UK to continue within the EU. As EU's membership expanded, more Europeans, especially from poorer EU nations, started migrating to UK using the Freedom of Movement clause. The anti-immigration parties argue that this puts a severe strain on national resources and add up to welfare expenditure. The pro-EU members argued that EU migrants contribute more to the national economy than they take out. Coming out of EU may stop the immigrants migrating from the European countries but has no effect on the immigrants coming from other parts of the world. The Remain side argues that in the era of international terrorism and criminality, cooperating with the EU will make the UK safer. The other side says that the security risk will in fact increase if the UK does not have control over its borders. Also, most of the crimes committed in the UK are by the European immigrants. Arresting them, putting them in prisons for years together is draining the money paid by the people. To this, the Remainers counter-argue, saying that if not for the agreements made by the EU countries, transfer of prisoners to their respective countries would take a longer period. The Remain side argues that as 3 million jobs are tied to the EU, there could be a job crisis if the UK leaves the EU. Brexiters claim that there will be a job boom without the EU regulations and the incoming of immigrants. On trade, the Remain side says that access to the single European market, free of tariffs and border controls, is critical for the UK as 45% of its trade is with the EU. The Leave side argues that individual trade deals with European countries can be easily negotiated, but remaining in EU restricts them from trading with Asia and America. Remainers argue that leaving the EU will put the dominance of London, the Europe's financial centre, at risk as banks will move out. All the investors who look at London as a window to the European market may change their idea with the UK opting out of the EU. The main advantage for the UK is that it can again prohibit the free flow of people. That was the primary reason people voted for Brexit. One disadvantage is the potential loss of Britain's tariff-free trade status with the other EU members. Tariffs raise the cost of exports, making British companies higher priced and less competitive. It also raises import prices. That creates inflation and lowers the standard of living for the UK residents. The UK will lose the advantages of EU state-of-the-art technologies. EU grants these technologies to its members in environmental protection, research and development, and energy. On the other hand, the UK will be able to tax without following EU guidelines. It will not have to pay EU membership fees, either. In addition, UK companies risk losing the ability to bid on public contracts in any EU country. This could also raise the cost of airfares, the internet and even phone services. Automobile, pharma and IT might be the most affected. NASSCOM has predicted that the effect of Brexit will be felt on the $108 billion in the IT sector in the short term. In the automobile industry, Brexit may lead to reduction in sales and companies like Jaguar Land Rover owned by Tata Group of companies. Also, Britain is one of the most sought-after education destinations for Indians. Brexit frees up funds for the non-EU students and more Indian students might be able to get scholarships. Reduction in pound value will reduce travelling costs to the UK and will make it a good travel destination.
So all you travel junkies out there, pack your bags and come along.